The two most common words in parenting are probably doing more harm than you realize. Not because you are a careless parent, because you are a loving one. And loving parents say it constantly, at the finish line, at the dinner table, after the drawing, after the game, after the homework. Good job. It feels right. It feels warm. It feels like exactly what an encouraging parent is supposed to say. But here is what 30 years of neuroscience research has quietly confirmed, and what almost no parenting advice ever tells you directly. Good job is not building real confidence in your child. It is building something that looks exactly like confidence from the outside. But underneath, it is something far more fragile. A child who performs well when praised, but crumbles when the praise stops. A child who avoids hard things, not because they are lazy, but because their brain has learned that failure means they are no longer good. And this does not happen because you said it wrong. It happens because of what those two words signal to your child's developing brain, whether you intend that signal or not. In 1998, researchers at Columbia University ran a study that changed how child psychologists understood praise forever. They gave hundreds of children a set of challenging problems. Most did well. Then they split them into two groups and gave each group a single sentence of feedback. Group 1. You must be really smart at this. Group 2. You must have worked really hard at this. One sentence. 2 words swapped. When the researchers offered a harder round of problems, ones the children could learn from but might not succeed at, the children praised for being smart mostly chose the easier option. They did not want to risk looking less smart. The children praised for effort. Most chose the harder challenge. They wanted to grow. But that was not the most alarming finding. The researchers then gave both groups a genuinely difficult test. One, where most children would struggle. Afterward, they asked each child to write a note to a peer describing the experience, including their score. 40% of the children praised for intelligence lied. They wrote a higher number than they actually received. Not because they were dishonest children, but because their brain had been taught, through 2 words of praise, that their worth was tied to their performance. And when the performance fell short, the only move the brain could find was to protect the identity. That is what good job, and all its variations, can quietly do when used without understanding. And the reason this happens at such a deep level is because your child's brain is not simply hearing your words. It is extracting a lesson from them. A lesson about what they are worth, and what happens to that worth when things get hard. Those lessons do not disappear when your child grows up. They go underground. They show up in the teenager who stops trying in subjects they are not immediately good at. In the adult who will not apply for the job unless they already meet every single requirement. In the partner who needs constant reassurance that they are loved. Because somewhere in childhood, their brain learned that approval is conditional. That it must be earned, over and over again. None of that is what you wanted when you said good job. But now, you are going to know exactly what to say instead. And more importantly, why each replacement works differently inside your child's brain. Hi, I am your host from Brainwise Parenting. And in this video, we are going to walk through the 5 types of praise, what each one wires inside your child's developing brain, and the exact words you can start using today. Words that build the kind of confidence, that does not need your applause to survive. Number 1. Outcome praise, and why it builds approval dependency. Outcome praise is the most common form of praise on the planet. Good job. Well done. That's great. You did it. It feels natural because it is a direct response to what just happened. Your child finished the puzzle. Good job. Ate their vegetables. Good job. Put their shoes on by themselves. Good job. The problem is not the warmth behind those words. The problem is what they teach the brain about the source of that warmth. When a child hears outcome praise repeatedly, their brain maps a very specific pattern. Doing the thing produces the good feeling from the parent. And the good feeling becomes the point. Not the doing, not the learning, not the effort. The approval that follows. Psychologist Alfie Kohn described children raised on heavy outcome praise as praise junkies. Not as an insult, as an accurate description of what the brain begins to require. The praise becomes the fuel, and without it, the tank runs empty. Think of it this way. Imagine you started going to the gym because you genuinely loved how it made you feel. Then, someone began giving you a reward every single time you showed up. After a while, the reward becomes the reason you go. And the day the reward stops, so do you. The intrinsic motivation was quietly replaced by the external one, and you did not even notice it happening. That is what repeated outcome praise does to a child's internal motivation engine. A study from the University of Florida found that children who were praised lavishly became more tentative in their answers over time. They started second-guessing themselves more, raising their hands less confidently, saying, "The answer is 5," instead of "the answer is 5." The praise that was supposed to build their confidence was, without anyone realizing, teaching their nervous system to look outward for certainty instead of inward. So from now on, when your child completes something, resist the reflex to evaluate it. Instead of "good job," try this. You did it. Full stop. Let them feel it before you add anything. Then follow with a genuine observation. I watched you keep trying, even when that piece would not fit. That was real persistence right there. You are not evaluating the outcome. You are witnessing the process. And that difference is everything. Number 2, intelligence praise, and the fixed mindset it wires. Intelligence praise is outcome praise, with a label attached. You are so smart. You are a natural. You are so talented at this. You have such a gift. Every one of those phrases feels like a compliment. And in the moment, your child lights up. But Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck spent decades studying what happens inside children's brains after those words land. And the findings were consistent enough to shift educational policy in countries around the world. When children are told they are smart, their brain files intelligence as a fixed trait, something they have, something already decided. And here is where the damage quietly begins. If intelligence is fixed, then every test, every challenge, every new skill becomes a measurement. Am I still smart? Will I look smart here? What if I try and I am not as smart as they think I am? Dweck found that children praised for intelligence were significantly more likely to avoid challenges after a failure. They chose easier tasks over harder ones. They lost interest in activities they used to love. Once those activities became difficult, because difficult meant they might not look smart anymore. and looking smart had become more important than actually learning. 40% of children already hold a fixed mindset about their intelligence before they reach secondary school. And one of the primary architects of that fixed mindset is the well-intentioned, loving intelligence praise they received in their earliest years. Here is what to say instead. When your child gets something right, do not label what they are. Describe what they did. Instead of, "You are so smart, try this." You figured that out by working through it step by step. That kind of thinking is going to take you a long way. You are not telling them they are not intelligent. You are teaching their brain that intelligence is something that grows, through process, not something they either have or they do not. That single shift, repeated over months and years, builds what Dweck calls a growth mindset. And children with growth mindsets consistently outperform children with fixed mindsets, not because they are more talented, but because they are not afraid to try things they might fail at. Number 3, inflated praise, and the impossible standard it quietly sets. Inflated praise is what happens when good job gets turned up to full volume. That is amazing. That is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. You are absolutely incredible. That is perfect. It comes from the best possible place. You want your child to feel extraordinary. You want them to know you see them. That impulse is right. But researchers at Utrecht University found something deeply counterintuitive about inflated praise, particularly for children who already have lower self-esteem. When those children received inflated praise, they became less likely to take on challenges afterward. Not more likely. Less. Here is why. Inflated praise sets an invisible standard. If that drawing was the most beautiful thing their parents have ever seen, what happens the next time the drawing is just okay? If they are absolutely incredible for stacking 4 blocks, what does it mean when the tower falls? The brain begins to calculate the gap between the inflated label and the actual reality. And what fills that gap is anxiety. This is also where perfectionism is frequently born. Not from high standards. From fear. The fear that the next performance will not match the inflated praise of the last one. And so the child stops attempting things where failure is possible, because failure would shatter an image that never accurately described them in the first place. Think of it like being told you are the world's greatest chef after making toast. The praise feels good for a moment, but the next time you cook something real, that standard follows you into the kitchen. And suddenly, cooking is not enjoyable anymore. It is a test. One you are terrified of failing. What to say instead? Match your praise to the actual moment. Specific and genuine will always outperform amplified and vague. Instead of, "That is amazing," try this. "I love the colours you chose in that corner. How did you decide to put those two together?" Warm. You are engaging with their actual creative decision. You are making them the expert on their own work, and that is a far stronger confidence builder than the word amazing has ever been. Before we get to the 2 types of praise that actually work, I want you to sit with something for a moment. Think about the adults in your life who seem successful on the outside, but never seem satisfied. The ones who downplay every achievement the moment it lands. The ones who need constant reassurance from their partner, their boss, their friends, that they are doing okay. The ones who will not start something they are not already certain they can finish. These are not personality quirks. In most cases, They are the adult version of a child whose brain learned that their value was tied to their output, who were praised when they succeeded, and met with silence or subtle disappointment when they struggled. The phrases you are about to learn are not complicated. They are specific, and the next two types of praise are the ones that build the real thing, the confidence that does not need your applause to survive. Number 4. Process praise and the resilience it builds. Process praise is the type that Dweck's research consistently points to as the most powerful confidence builder available to a parent. It is also the most misunderstood. Process praise is not simply telling your child they worked hard. That is a start. But research shows that praising effort without connecting it to strategy or growth can actually backfire, particularly with children who are already struggling. Telling a child who just failed that they simply needed to try harder can feel like an accusation rather than encouragement. Real process praise is specific. It names the behavior, it connects the behavior to the outcome, and it always points somewhere forward. Here is what that sounds like in actual moments. Your child finishes a difficult puzzle. Instead of "good job" or "you are so smart," try "you kept going even when that section was frustrating." I watched you try a completely different approach when the first one did not work. That is exactly how hard things get figured out. Your child makes a mistake on their homework. Instead of "it is okay, you tried your best," try "this part was tricky. What do you think you would do differently next time? Let us look at it together." Your child loses a game or a competition. Instead of "you did great anyway," try "that was genuinely hard. What did you learn from this one that you did not know before?" A study published in 2025 in Developmental Psychology confirmed what Dweck's earlier research first suggested. Children as young as 4 years old can already infer the quality and sincerity of praise. They are not fooled by generic approval. When praise is specific, connected to their actual behavior, and consistent with reality, they internalize it. When it is vague or inflated, they dismiss it. At a subconscious level, even if they smile and say thank you, your child knows when you are really paying attention. And process praise is proof that you are. Number 5. Observation praise and the internal confidence it grows. This is the most underused form of praise in parenting, and possibly the most powerful one of all. Observation praise contains no evaluation whatsoever. It does not say good or bad, smart or not smart, amazing or ordinary. It simply reflects back what the parent saw and lets the child be the one to judge it. It sounds like this. "You spent 40 minutes on that drawing. You tried that 6 times before it worked. You went back and fixed the part that was not right. You noticed your sister was upset, and you went to sit with her." That is it. No evaluation attached, no label, no grade. And yet research consistently shows that this form of praise builds something that outcome praise and intelligence praise cannot: internal self-assessment. The ability of a child to look at their own behavior and draw their own conclusions about who they are and what they are capable of. Think of the difference between someone telling you that you are a generous person versus you watching yourself give up something you valued for someone else. The first one is an opinion. The second one is evidence. And evidence builds identity in a way that opinion never quite does. When a parent says, "You are so smart," the child borrows their parent's evaluation of themselves. When a parent says, "You spent 40 minutes working on that," the child does their own math, and the conclusion they reach, "I must care about this. I must be someone who sticks with things. It's theirs. It belongs to them in a way that no external label ever can." Children who receive consistent observation praise develop what psychologists call an internal locus of control, the belief that their outcomes are connected to their own choices and efforts, not to luck, not to talent, but whether someone else approves of them in any given moment. That is the foundation of genuine confidence. Not the child who needs to be told they did well. The child who already knows. Because they watch themselves do it. Let me give you the exact phrases now. 10 situations. 10 replacements. Say these out loud a few times before you need them. Because the reflex to say, "good job," runs deep. And new words feel awkward before they feel natural. Situation 1. Your child finishes a task. Instead of, "good job," say, "you finished that. How does it feel?" Situation 2. Your child shows you something they made. Instead of, "That's amazing," say, "Tell me about this part. What were you thinking when you made it?" Situation 3. Your child gets something right. Instead of, "You're so smart," say, "You figured that out. What helped you get there?" Situation 4. Your child keeps trying after failing. Instead of, "Good try," say, "You did not stop. That took something real." Situation 5. Your child helps someone else. Instead of, "Good girl, good boy," say, "You noticed they needed help and you went." That is who you are. Situation 6. Your child does something independently. Instead of, "I'm so proud of you," say, "You must feel proud of yourself. You did that on your own." Situation 7. Your child scores well on a test. Instead of, "You're so smart," say, "All that preparation paid off. You put in the work." Situation 8. Your child loses or fails. Instead of, "You did great anyway," say, "That was hard. What do you want to do differently next time?" Situation 9. Your child shows effort on something imperfect. Instead of, "That's beautiful," when it is not. Say, "I can see how much time you gave this. This part here. What were you going for?" Situation 10. Your child does something kind without being asked. Instead of, "Nothing." Most parents miss this one entirely. Say, "I saw what you just did." That was you choosing to be kind when no one asked you to. That matters. Here is what I want you to take from this. You have been saying "good job" because you love your child, because you wanted them to feel seen, to feel valued, to feel like what they do matters to you. That impulse is not wrong. That impulse is exactly right. What we are changing today is not the love behind the words. We are changing the words themselves, so that the love lands in a way that builds something your child can carry with them when you are not in the room. Real confidence is not built from applause. It is built from evidence. Evidence that a child accumulates over years, in small moments, repeated often. That they are someone who tries, who persists, who figures things out, who cares, who does not need someone else's verdict to know their own worth. That evidence comes from what you say in the ordinary moments. The puzzle, the drawing, the homework, the dinner table, the car ride home after the game they lost. Those moments are not small, they are the whole thing. And now, you know exactly what to say in them. If this video gave you something useful, share it with one parent who needs it today. And subscribe to Brainwise Parenting, because every single week we go this deep into what the science actually says about raising confident, emotionally intelligent children. Next week, we are covering something that will genuinely surprise you. The 8 things that parents do every single day. Completely normal things. Things that look like good parenting from the outside. That are quietly building anxiety in their children. That video is already written, and I think it is going to be the most important one we have made. I will see you there.